Welcome to Mark's British Airways Fleet Update, looking at short and long-haul fleets.
Welcome to another British Airways Fleet Update. It only seems a few days since your last fleet update here on Mark's Trains, Planes and Trams, and indeed it is, but the world is moving so quickly. British Airways trying to catch up, I think, on a deficit of overhauls, maintenance and modifications, a number of aircraft running into difficulty and challenges. Regular maintenance is due, club suites to fit. There's lots and lots to talk about.
Let's kick off with the British Airways City Flyer Fleet Update. All about their Embraer 190 fleet.
So the Embraer 190 fleet out of London City, Lima Charlie Alpha Charlie made a brief maintenance visit down to Exeter, flew on the City Flyer 9769 empty move from London City to Exeter on the 22nd of Jan. Don't know what they did down there, but clearly didn't take them very long. The aircraft straight back again to London City on the City Flyer 9760 the following day. And Lima Charlie Yankee Oscar has been at Exeter since the 11th of January. That's due to return to London City on the 2nd of February. That aircraft rostered on the BA 4466, the 1420 out of London City across to Dublin. Lima Charlie Alpha Foxtrot flew down to Exeter from London City after just 8 days in traffic, having spent 16 days on the ground at Milan Malpensa after diverting from Florence with an engine failure. Maybe that aircraft does need a bit more attention than was originally planned. Maybe it's just a coincidence and it's due maintenance anyway. Lima Charlie Yankee Juliet flew from London City, short little loop round to Stansted on the 19th of January for 3 days of maintenance, back to London City from Stansted on the 22nd of January on the City Flyer 9760. And I think probably weather more than anything else, but Lima Charlie Yankee Zulu diverted to Stansted on the BA 8452, actually flying with call sign City Flyer 93 Papa November. That happened on the 1st of February. The aircraft remained there overnight.
Time to check out the Gatwick-based Airbus fleet of BA Euroflyer. Tell us what score with the Gatwick short-haul fleet, Mark.
So the Airbus fleet that Euroflyer operate for BA out of Gatwick, few developments there. Golf Alpha Tango Kilo remains at Madrid for maintenance, been there since the 4th of Jan, testing being undertaken on the aircraft on the 23rd of Jan. You may remember last time we did an update, we talked about Golf Alpha Tango November remaining at London Heathrow, having done that rather unusual flight down from Glasgow, limited to flight level 80, that's 8,000 feet. Still at London Heathrow, that aircraft. And Golf Alpha Tango Papa remains at Glasgow at the BA maintenance facility. Interestingly, a shortage of aircraft in the Heathrow fleet led Mike Echo Delta Kilo, one of the original Mediterranean Airways aircraft that joined British Midland and then British Airways, flew across from Gatwick to Heathrow as the Euroflyer 9750 on the 30th of January, due to head out to Rome on the BA 548 on the 1st of Feb. It did do that, call sign Speedbird 5 Charlie Romeo, but the aircraft aborted its mission over the English Channel and made a return to London Heathrow, remaining out of use since then. And on the Airbus A321 fleet in the Euroflyer business, Echo Uniform X-Ray Mike flew from London Gatwick up to Birmingham on the 20th of January, and that aircraft remains at Birmingham under maintenance.
across to London Heathrow to check out the Airbus narrow-body short-haul fleet of aircraft.
Quite a bit happening on the short-haul fleet for British Airways Mainline out of London Heathrow. Once again, the smaller 319 fleet providing quite a large chunk of the news and the developments, although a bit of stability. Delta Bravo Charlie Bravo remains at Madrid, been there since the 3rd of January for maintenance, and Delta Bravo Charlie Echo remains at Birmingham, where it's been for maintenance since the 23rd of January. Delta Bravo Charlie Golf remains at Malta. It's been there since the 22nd of January, and there's 2 of the Airbus A319s still out in the Middle East at Abu Dhabi. Echo Uniform Papa Romeo and Echo Uniform Papa Sierra. Echo Uniform Alpha remains at Glasgow, with Echo Uniform Kilo at Dublin. But Echo Uniform Mike returned from Madrid on the 25th of January, flying empty back to London Heathrow as the BA 9277. Couple of months that aircraft had been in Madrid, and replaced by Echo Uniform Yankee Juliet that flew out on the same day. The crew obviously taking one aircraft out, the BA 9276 from Heathrow to Madrid, and returning with Uniform Mike. And Tango November Echo Delta flew out to Malta on the BA 9270, 27th of January. Now, one aspect of British Airways operation I haven't talked about on these fleet updates before is the use of the Airbus fleet for pilot circuit training. This is where pilots get on an aircraft, often with their colleagues, and the aircraft will just take off, do a circuit of the airfield, do a touch and go back up in the air, and it keeps going round and round. Because, you know, as interesting as it is to fly an aircraft on a real flight, what it actually they really want to test and train the pilots on is takeoff and landing, and some of those critical activities that take place during the approach to landing and in the immediate parts of takeoff. So British Airways can't really do that in service. There's not enough opportunities, and while it's very expensive to take a fully working aircraft out of commercial service, this allows them to crack on and train pilots quicker and get them passed out as competent quicker. And actually, when you look at British Airways, they are struggling with airline pilot availability, so this clearly makes sense for them. So 2 examples of where this has happened in the last month or so. Echo Uniform Zulu headed out from London Heathrow to Shannon on BA 9260 on the 8th of January. 2 days at Shannon doing those circuit training exercises. Shannon, of course, a great place to do this. There's some scheduled activity at Shannon, but it's rather limited. It's fairly quiet airspace. BA can get on and do these exercises without interfering with large quantities of scheduled airline traffic. And back the next day, BA 9261, 9th of January, Shannon, back to London Heathrow. And then Echo Uniform Foxtrot, similar arrangements, but this time at Prestwick, up on the 22nd of January. Completely separate this to the Wi-Fi fitment program. I guess if you're being really clever and smart, you'd say, why didn't they use one of the aircraft that was just coming in or coming off the Wi-Fi fitment program? And the answer to that is they probably could have done, but it just adds, you know, huge degrees of complexity and interworking that just make things more difficult and more complicated than they need to be. So the BA 9260 up to Prestwick from London Heathrow on the 22nd of January and back on the 23rd of January on the BA 9261. Now, we all know that British Airways has been recruiting a lot of pilots. We know they've got pilots approaching retirement age. We know they're trying to grow their network, and I suspect that they're going to have a continuing requirement for this type of thing. So we'll keep a close eye on this here at Mark's Trains, Planes and Trams. I mentioned just there the Wi-Fi fitment of the Airbus fleet. in Heathrow's Mainline group. Now, what happened, of course, they ordered a number of new aircraft from Airbus. For various reasons, it was not possible for those aircraft to be delivered from Airbus at Toulouse with Wi-Fi fitted and operational. And British Airways has just struggled with aircraft availability in recent times and not been able to release those aircraft for fitment. So it's cracking on with that programme now. And Tango Tango November Sierra and Airbus A320 flew up to Prestwick on the 23rd of January, BA 9270. 6 days later, back as the BA 9275, and the crew that brought that aircraft back had flown Tango Tango November Papa up for its fitment. So they're trying to do this in an efficient manner. What that means over the last couple of months is 8 of the Airbus A320s, 5 of the Airbus A321s are fitted. We think all of the A321s have now got their Wi-Fi. And slight update to what I told you last time, 2 of the A320s, I think November Romeo, November Tango, remain to be fitted.
Now, it's time for the long-haul fleet update. Let's go double deck and see what's been happening with the A380 fleet.
Now, I highlighted last time the disruption that's coming to British Airways and its passengers from the Airbus A380 fleet. And I have to say, although things are perhaps not quite as dramatic as they were, that disruption is still continuing. And actually, if you look across the British Airways website, you look at Flight Radar 24 through the month of January, you can see substantial delays, substantial disruption to many Airbus A380 flights. And even those flights that actually do operate and do get away are leaving quite late. I talked last time about the cancellation of the BA11 to Singapore on the 25th of January. Sadly, that event happened yet again on the 30th of January with a cancellation. And it was interesting to see Simon Calder from The Independent writing recently. You can see his comments here. I'm not sure which of those flights he was on, but he was clearly on one of them. He was explaining that he got to the airport relatively late. Luckily, he didn't check any baggage in. And because his bags were not tangled up in the Heathrow baggage system, he was able to get himself rebooked on a Singapore Airlines flight that evening. But many passengers were not in that lucky position. By the time their bags had been found and reunited with their owners, the last flights of the day had left and passengers had to be put up in hotels and arrangements made for them to travel the next day. That cancellation on the 30th due to the unavailability of X-Ray Lima Echo India. What we've also seen through January is a small number of occasions where the BA 269 to Los Angeles has been substituted by a 777-300. Now, British Airways choose the 777-300 because it's the next largest aircraft in their fleet, but the gap between a 777-300 and an Airbus A380 is pretty substantial, and it's over 200 seats. And while we're able to give some more positive news in this briefing about the fitment of club suites to other aircraft in the British Airways fleet, there still remains no prospect of the new first class accommodation or club suites being fitted to the A380s anytime soon. And X-Ray Lima Echo Alpha remains in the Lufthansa Technik facility out in the Philippines at Manila. It's been there since the 25th of November, so it's over 2 months that aircraft's been out of use. X-Ray Lima Echo Kilo remains out of use at London Heathrow, and I talked about the cancellation of that Singapore flight on the 30th. The aircraft responsible for that, X-Ray Lima Echo India, actually returned to service on the 1st of February, but it wasn't ready on time to operate the BA57, and that ended up leaving late. In fact, the aircraft was so late that the airfield had to extend normal operations beyond its evening curfew, and the aircraft actually headed straight out to runway 09 left. So occasionally late at night you do see departures from 09 left, but a rather unusual occurrence. So, I'm sure that nobody in British Airways wants to see the disruption that they're currently seeing from the Airbus A380 fleet. But there does clearly remain a serious question here. We know the aircraft are flying to Manila on a regular basis for maintenance. We know that they're often going into the facility at Heathrow, like we've just seen with X-Ray Lima Echo India. But one does wonder what needs to happen for British Airways to get better levels of reliability out of these aircraft, because this must be causing BA some quite serious headaches, I think.
And now, let's review the comings and goings across BA's biggest long-haul fleet, the Boeing 777 fleet.
The 777 fleet is clearly the big workhorse of the British Airways long-haul fleet. Generally, it's fairly reliable, but it's a large fleet of aircraft, and there's 59 of them, so there's quite a lot of aircraft likely at any point in time to need maintenance. They're also quite an old fleet, although they've had some recent arrivals, 777-300s. Generally, a lot of the aircraft are, well, quite frankly, they're moving towards being 30 years old, and aircraft can fly for at that age, but they need more maintenance. So let's just have a quick look at what's going on around the 777 fleet. Victor India Oscar from the Gatwick 777 long-haul fleet. That's been in Taipei in the Republic of China since the 1st of January. It's still there. Yankee Mike Golf remains on loan from London Heathrow to the Gatwick fleet, being there since the 18th of January. One of the 777-300 Sierra Tango Bravo Hotel returned from maintenance at Cardiff as the BA 9176 on the 27th of January, but didn't actually head back into passenger traffic until 2 days later on the 29th of January on the BA 199 out to Mumbai. The newest and the youngest 777 in the fleet is Sierra Tango Bravo Papa, which is an aircraft I've flown on and presented a video on actually, but that aircraft flew the BA 9174 on the 27th of January down to Cardiff, but a very brief visit at Cardiff, one of the easier maintenance tasks, because that was heading back on the BA 9171 4 days later on the 31st of January. Now, a regular mention has been made on these updates about the fate of Victor India Victor, which has a curious history because it was originally fitted a few years ago at Gatwick with some updated seats and entertainment systems for use as part of the Gatwick long-haul fleet, but 3 of the 777s, including India Victor, retained their first class. Now, British Airways decided as it emerged from COVID and it had withdrawn all of the 747s that the only way it could cope with the reduction in the long-haul fleet was to move some of the Gatwick aircraft back to Heathrow and to reduce the size of the operation at Gatwick. But that meant an aircraft that had been designed for Gatwick no longer fitted in with the requirements for Heathrow. So the intention was that India Victor, India Whiskey and India Yankee would be refreshed with club suites, retaining their first class. Now, that sounded relatively simple. However, because the entertainment system is different and just one or two subtleties about the work that had already been done, it meant that the work had to be revalidated. Normally that would be revalidated by Boeing as the manufacturer, but as we've discussed on this podcast before, Boeing no longer has the ability to sign off such approvals. It's been stripped of that ability by the US Federal Aviation Authority. So what that means is that BA has to seek approval, and ultimately that has to be countersigned by the FAA. So sadly, the guys at Cardiff did a great job. They finished this work relatively quickly, but the aircraft then sat with its engines covered up with tarpaulins outside in Cardiff, waiting for that approval. Approval eventually arrived, and the aircraft headed off on the BA 9173 from Cardiff back to London Heathrow on the 31st of January. And after a bit of toing and froing of allocations, it was rostered to the BA 117 the next morning, and that's the first flight of the day out from Heathrow to New York's JFK on the 1st of February. But the aircraft, as you can see here, pushed back from the stand, headed out towards the runway, but before it got to the runway, the flight crew found some issues with the aircraft they weren't happy with. It had to return to a different stand. It stood on the stand for about an hour, no doubt, with technical support being dispatched. But fortunately, they appear to have dealt with the issue, rectified the problem, and the aircraft was on its way on the BA 117. So that's back in service with its club suites. And interestingly, sister ship India Yankee had headed out the previous day to Cardiff, and club suites fitment has now commenced on that aircraft. So what that means is there's only one 777 in the London Heathrow fleet left with club suites still to fit. Of course, the 12 aircraft at Gatwick remain with the old Club World cabins, and as we've said here before, there's currently no plans to fit them, and I don't think that will change. Yankee Mike Charlie returned from maintenance into service at Gatwick on the 25th of January out to Mauritius on the BA 2065. Yankee Mike Sierra returned from Cardiff maintenance to London Heathrow, and that headed back into traffic on the BA 59, and Yankee Mike Tango remains at Cardiff for maintenance. Victor India Lima flew to Teruel in Spain on the 28th of Jan for maintenance and possibly some repaint activity. You can see British Airways using its facilities at Cardiff, but also sending 777s to Gatwick, to Taipei, to Teruel in Spain. So really maximising the capability to get outstanding work undertaken, to get maintenance done on time, and to make sure that there is no backlog on these aircraft.
Time now to check out the 3 variants of Boeing Dreamliner that BA operates out of London Heathrow.
So the 787 update for British Airways, really not good news at all, and I guess this will be an area of emerging concern for British Airways. And sadly, when you do the mathematics, quite staggering, 25% currently of the British Airways Dreamliner fleet, that's its 787s, 787-8s, 9s and 10s, not available for traffic. So 787-9 Zulu Bravo Kilo remains out of use at Abu Dhabi for maintenance. Zulu Bravo Kilo Juliet was on the British Airways operation to Dubai and left Dubai on the BA 108 on the 31st of Jan. That returned to Dubai shortly after takeoff with an unspecified problem. The flight was cancelled, and the next day it returned empty to London Heathrow. Zulu Bravo Juliet on the 787-8 fleet returned to London Heathrow shortly after departure on the BA 35 to Chennai, and it's remained out of use at London Heathrow since. Slightly concerning, but maybe part of the plan, Zulu Bravo Juliet Alpha, which was the first of the 787-8 fleet to get club suite fitment, that actually flew from London Heathrow down to Cardiff as the BA 9170 on the 1st of February. Now, it's not clear if this is planned sort of technical work for the aircraft or whether it relates to issues that have emerged since its club suite fitment that need to be rectified. We'll find out, I guess, in due course. Zulu Bravo Juliet Charlie, sister ship, remains at Cardiff getting its club suite fitment, and that will be the third of the subclass to be fitted. And 787-10 off the production line, Zulu Bravo Lima, not yet registered, still at Charleston. We think that aircraft's complete and ready, but tangled up with various issues that Boeing have got. So when I move through my slides and show you this slide, it does present, I think, a concerning picture. British Airways, as I press the button on this YouTube video, have got 5 787-8s out of service, and you can see a couple of those been out of service for a little while, one back to July last year. 787-9s, there's one stranded out in Toronto. No doubt they'll be looking to get that back. One aircraft stopped at Heathrow recently. We've talked about the maintenance in Abu Dhabi and one long-term stop at London Heathrow, and the 787-10s. Again, real concern, I guess, for British Airways to buy an asset as expensive as a brand new Dreamliner and to have it sat out of service with engine problems courtesy of Rolls-Royce for over 4 months. But that's the fate that's met Zulu Bravo Lima Delta parked up at Heathrow. And this, I guess, helps us understand why British Airways have posted those flight cancellations, why they've changed their schedule, reduced their routes. And British Airways trying to manage expectations by saying there's no immediate prospect of this engine issue getting fixed very quickly, and no prospect that the aircraft that are out of service are going to be capable of being fitted with new or refreshed engines and returned to service. I guess the real risk for British Airways is that more aircraft will reach a point where Rolls-Royce engines on the wing reach their maximum hours, or they have engine failures, and there is just not any availability of new or refreshed engines to replace them, and that means the aircraft will just have to be parked up until that position changes. British Airways, of course, not the only airline impacted by this, but clearly it remains a big challenge for them. Well, that just about wraps up the updates that I've got for you this time round.
That's everything for this BA Fleet Update. Always good to get your thoughts and contributions. Catch you on this channel for another BA Fleet Update very soon.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and click the notification button so you don't miss any of the great trips Mark has coming your way on this YouTube channel.